thank you for allowing us to come and provide just a brief overview about the SNAP program. My name is Shila Salem. I'm the program manager for the SNAP ENT program at Department of Economic Opportunity in Tallahassee. And we work really closely with our local workforce development boards to deliver this program that we're going to talk to you about today. Hopefully you'll get some information that will help spur some new partnerships in our local areas. And I guess to understand, Lisa Rice will be here tomorrow from one of the boards to talk to you more about what they do at the one-stop centers. We really think that the SNAP program and some of the changes that have undergone in this program recently really provide a lot of opportunities for partnerships for our educational and CTE providers in the communities. It is one of the allowable component activities that allows the individual to continue to receive food assistance benefits. So it's really important with the way the laws have changed in the state that they're able to have access to those services. So you may ask, what is SNAP? SNAP is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It is formerly known as the Food Stamp Program. And this program offers nutrition assistance to millions of eligible individuals and families across our state. It is funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Food and Nutrition Service, and it's a collaborative effort between our agency and Department of Children and Families. The Department of Children and Families actually issues all food assistance benefits in our state, but we are funded to provide the employment and training component of that program. So of course they go there, they apply, and they get approved for benefits, and then they are told if they have to participate in employment and training. And as you'll see as I go through the presentation, not everyone who receives food assistance is required to participate in the revamp of the SNAP program. So the SNAP ENT program allows individuals who are referred by DCF to participate in several activities at the workforce boards. But the ultimate goal of the program is to improve their ability to become gainfully employed and self-sufficient. So as we go through the program components that are required for them to participate, that is the ultimate goal, is that they will have those skills to be able to become employable and therefore no longer need food stamp assistance. Again, DCF determines a participant's eligibility to participate, and we administer the SNAP ENT program through our agency. Our local workforce development boards deliver program services to SNAP participants across the state. So just to explain a little bit about the SNAP program, I'll back up here. Previously with SNAP, it was mandatory for food stamp assistants that were referred to participate in the SNAP employment and training program, which means we would get a referral from the Department of Children and Families, and they would tell us that in lieu of working, since the individual was not working, to continue receiving your benefits, you must participate in certain program activities at a certain rate. So once they come over to our agency, we kind of let the local boards know who those individuals are, and then they go to the career centers to receive services. Prior to January 1st of 2016, we were operating a voluntary program. And what that meant was that the individual, there was really no consequence if they did not participate. An individual who was referred by DCF could choose to volunteer to participate in employment activities. And so you may see someone start a program at your centers and then they would stop, but there was really no consequence for them doing that. Well, effective January 1st of 2016, the federal law changed and all states who were under a waiver were removed from that waiver, and Florida was one of those states. At that time, we had to transition to provide these services to every ABOD, and I'll explain to you in a minute what that means. But every ABOD is now required to participate in an employment and a training activity, or the consequence is you could lose your benefits. Their case could be sanctioned, if you're not familiar with sanction terms, and they will lose those benefits if they don't comply with the program. And I'll talk a little bit more detail about that in just a moment. So we have transitioned our program from a voluntary program to serving ABODs, who are able-bodied adults without dependents, meaning they have no kids in the home, but they are receiving food assistance. So those individuals are required to participate, or they will not get those benefits. And we are still in a transition. I have to say that I'll give you a little bit of the stats about Florida in a minute, but we have quite a few ABODs in our state. Once we identified, DCF told us who they were, and they started referring them. Well, there are over 500,000 of them in the state of Florida. We expect during this particular program year, which is the federal fiscal year, that about 563,000 individuals will be referred to our ENT program, knowing that the consequence if they don't participate is they will lose those benefits. So just a little bit about our workforce system so you can understand our role in working with ABODs. Career Source Florida is the policy board in the state of Florida. These individuals are appointed by the governor, and they are supported by the entity of Career Source Florida. Department of Economic Opportunity, where I work, we work to provide guidance, training, and technical assistance and compliance activities around all workforce programs for the state of Florida. SNAP Employment Training is one of the smaller ones, in fact, helps put it in perspective. But that is one of the programs that we help manage. And then, of course, our local workforce development boards, who often tell us they're working with their local educational providers, provide all local program administration. They do all direct services and or referrals for individuals who need that, and provide the supportive services that they need to stay engaged in program activities. So in Florida, at the last count we looked at, Florida had about 2 million households that received SNAP benefits. Some of those households have kids in the home, so those are not necessarily your SNAP ENT mandated participants. And about 3.7 million individuals actually receive SNAP benefits in our state. Again, at the beginning of this program year, which was October 1st of 2015, there were approximately 563,507 ABODs in our state. That's around December, I think, they received a notice that told them they were now mandated to participate in ENT activities. So we started getting the word out, just trying to let them know what the program requirements are. And of course, with any program where they can apply continuously, those numbers fluctuate. So individuals are applying and being approved for benefits daily. So what is an ABOD? Again, that is an able-bodied adult without dependents who receives food assistance in our state. They are between the ages of 18 and 49. And the ABOD law that went into effect in January requires that there is a time limit on food assistance. So the individual can continue to receive food assistance as long as they remain in compliance during a 3-year clock or time period. What the 3-month time limit means is that they have 3 times to fail, meaning you're required as an ABOD to do 20 hours a week, about 80 hours a month in an approved activity. If you fail to do that, we sanction your case. We can sanction your case 3 times in a 3-year period before you are shut out of the system completely until that 3-year clock starts again. And I know that's a lot, and I'll give y'all my information. If you're confused, you can call me. But that's essentially, Florida works on a 3-year clock. We reset the clock every 36 months. And if an ABOD loses benefits, or that kind of 3 strikes you're out, first month, you lose benefits for a month. Second strike, you lose it for 3 months. And next strike, you lose it for 6 months. And then you no longer can get back into the system to get food assistance. So, that's what that 3-year time limit means. And of course, there are sanctions for non-compliance. So it's really important from the partnership perspective that our local workforce boards are in constant communication with the partners to kind of know which activities the ABODs are participating in, because we are required to report that. And I have to also say about this program, DCF and DEO both strongly believe that this program can be looked as an empowering program. It is the ABOD's responsibility to select activities to engage in. We do our best to support them in that, but when they are not compliant, then they are suffering the consequences for not doing that. So we try to make everything really simple: access to services, access to supports, and we don't have that in the presentation, but I'll talk about that briefly, to comply. And so they have to do a lot of reporting to DCF. We don't expect our partners to tell us if the ABOD is compliant. You may be contacted for collateral information, but the ABOD needs to report to the workforce board what they are doing. And normally they do that by turning in timesheets. that are sometimes signed by their instructors or signed by some of the educational directors at the facilities. But we have to know that they are complying, they're doing what they're supposed to do, but it's their responsibility to turn in that paperwork. I'm going to turn it over to Morena to just talk about some of the program components, but I did briefly bring up the program supports. In the state of Florida's program, we do offer transportation assistance for participants. So they are eligible to receive, it is a minimal amount, but they can apply to receive transportation assistance to get to and from class or to and from their employability skills training opportunities. And they have to work through their local workforce board case manager to have access to those, but we do provide that. And the other thing that we don't provide that is provided in some of our other welfare transition programs is child care. Of course, they don't have children, so they shouldn't have any needs for doing that. And DCF determines if an individual is exempt from the program by meeting an exception. For example, being pregnant or having a disability, those are some of the things they take into consideration. And those individuals would never come over to our employment and training program. Okay?
Okay. So some of our employment and training programs should include one of the following, which are assessments, job search programs, job search training, work fair, work experience, vocational training, WIOA, and TAA program, which is a Trade Adjustment Act program, basic adult education, GED prep, ESOL, and self-employment. Our ABODs are required to participate in allowable work program components in order to maintain their food assistance eligibility. So the services that are offered by our local workforce development boards are assessments, job search training, work experience, and referrals to education and training. So our local workforce development boards are responsible for delivering ENT program components to our ABODs, and based on funding, our boards may fund education services provided to our ABODs. Our boards may refer our ABODs to receive educational services such as adult basic education, high school completion, or general education development, post-secondary education, ESOL education combined with other program components. Our boards may also refer ABODs to the following training services: vocational training, WIOA, TAA. Our boards are also responsible for tracking and reporting on ABOD participation. Our boards, DEO, and the Department of Children and Families collaborate closely to ensure that our ABODs are given opportunities to comply with the program. So everyone should have received in their packets a copy of the state map. This is all our 24 regional workforce boards is our old name, but the local workforce development boards, these are all our boards and the counties that fall under each board. And there's also a handout, I believe, a directory of our board directors for each area. So we do encourage you to reach out to our local workforce development boards to join in and to provide high quality education to our SNAP ENT participants.
Here's a good one. What are the sanctions for non-compliance?
Loss of food assistance. So the first time you don't comply, you lose it for 1 month. The second time you don't comply is 3 months, right? And the last time it is 6 months without benefits. Now, the individual who is sanctioned can still come back to our region and comply, but they still have to lose that benefit for the time period. And it is a process for them to regain benefits. Once they are sanctioned, they're required to comply with the activity that they did not do, whatever the region says that compliance activity is, and then they have to reapply for benefits through DCF. And then, of course, DCF will re-refer them to us, and we will begin to engage them again in employment activities.